Hi, this is John Bird. I'm speaking to you from Durango. I wanted to introduce myself and also talk a little bit about what the class will cover this summer. This class is about climate change and how it relates to business activities. And so we're not talking about the science of climate or whether there is going to be change or anything like that. We're going to focus on the ways that changes in climate as well as policies can affect business. And by the end of the course, I hope you have pretty good exposure to several of those aspects of business and climate, and also have had a chance to think about how a company or an industry or a municipality might prepare itself for the possible changes. The class is only 8 weeks long, so we can only cover about 7 or 8 topics, and the ones I've chosen may be the best ones or maybe not. What I've done is created several, maybe 6 small assignments, and I hope that those introduce you to how carbon emissions are reported and measured, and how you compute a carbon footprint, and where you get data, national level data on carbon emissions and so on. Then we have a quiz, and we have a final project. And the final project's really the meat of the course. That gives you a chance to explore something you're interested in, maybe for your company or for a company you'd like to work for, or an industry you'd like to be involved in. So I think the class, excuse me, is kind of an odd one in that there's a lot of preliminary work, but the culminating event, the thing that's really going to be interesting, is what happens in the last couple of weeks when you do this final presentation. There's information on it in the syllabus. Do read the syllabus. It describes all of the assignments. I'm still fine-tuning the reading list. I put in a reading list from 2 years ago when I taught the class, and I want to update a few things. So I'll have a new one out to you the first or second day of class with the readings that I think are best. This is a field that's constantly changing, and so picking readings is a little bit tricky because next week something newer and better and more interesting may appear. Anyway, welcome to the class. I think it's going to be really interesting. I'm glad that you enrolled. I hope that 8 weeks is enough time to do it justice. There's a couple slides where I describe what's going on in the class in a little teeny bit more detail. Thanks. Bye-bye.
As I said, I wanted to reiterate a couple points. I'm doing this recording on May 31st, and we're taking next week off, so I hope you too got a little break before classes. Anyway, the goal of the class is to give you some strategic sense of how companies might adapt to climate change and its accompanying impacts. The goal here really isn't to have companies simply react. I'd really like you to figure out if there are profitable opportunities that can be exploited as climate changes. The other aspect of this issue is that climate isn't just changing on its own. There's population growth, there's an aging population, there's resource scarcity issues, particularly water scarcity, there's issues about food and whatnot. And so there's a lot more going on, but all of those topics are somewhat interlinked because a lot of them require energy to address, and more people mean more energy is needed, more energy can mean more carbon emissions and so on. And so the class is really going to be quite broad-ranging. The class structure, I hope every week to make a little audio-video overview of the week where I can talk about the topic and the activities for that week. This particular week, the main activity is just learning some of the carbon basics, kind of getting used to, or climate basics, and getting used to the class structure and introducing yourself. So, introduce yourself. Look at the lectures on basic climate issues. There's a couple readings, and start reading the Nordhaus book. The Nordhaus book is titled The Climate Casino, and for the sake of full disclosure, He was one of my professors when I was in graduate school. He's a really smart economist. He's been doing this climate stuff for probably 25 or 30 years, longer than I think anybody else. The choice of the book would be a huge disappointment to climate activists because he's pretty moderate. He looks at costs and benefits. He takes a pretty measured approach to climate and what we can do to mitigate it. Sort of sees, as any economist would, that there's competing demands for the limited resources that we have. There's poverty alleviation, there's disease, there's lots of other stuff that is begging to be addressed. And some people would say, well, without climate, the whole game's gone. But there's people that don't believe that. In addition to the book, there's going to be a few articles, and as I said, I'll revise the reading list. I'll get it out to you probably June 12th, so Wednesday of the first week of class or so, and I'll update it over the next week or two as I have a little bit of time. Small assignments, I hope that they're only going to take 1 to 3 hours to complete, and hopefully 2 will be the average. Depends on how good you are at the internet and how lucky you get finding some of the stuff, I guess. The last bullet point is a caveat. I'm still learning Canvas, and I wanted to find some way for you to share your work, and so far CU Online and the folks there haven't been able to help me very much. So we're going to have to figure out some workaround that works. Maybe we'll discover that their recommendations work fine. I don't know. Again, be sure to read the syllabus. This is important. The class goes fast. If you miss something, I don't know how you catch up in 8 weeks. It's pretty intense. Finally, to reiterate, some small assignments, most of them individual, a few group. We have a carbon trading assignment that I think is done in a group. It really has to be done in a group. A couple other things you can work with other people. Quiz, the big final project, that's really the meat of the course. That puts together all these little things you've learned up to that point. There's going to be discussions, but I'm not even going to pretend to grade them. I make no claim to be able to figure out who made the most significant contribution. So I've abdicated and just said no grading. So you can participate or not with no effect on your grade either way. Again, be sure to read the syllabus through. It has a lot of information about dates and times and all that sort of stuff. I'll have a new version of the reading list out Wednesday, say, or Thursday of the first week of class. In the meantime, again, speaking on May 31st, I hope you've enjoyed your week before classes, and welcome to the class. I think it's going to be really interesting. It's a great topic and lends itself to a lot of really interesting strategic thinking. Talk to you again next week, I guess.